Massachusetts, Fall River, 1892, 11:10 a.m. Lizzie Borden hears a strange noise from her house and rushes over. She runs into the living room to find a horrible sight. She saw her father, Andrew Borden, dead on the sofa, with a disfigured face with blood pouring out the side of his head. His eye was split cleanly in two, suggesting he was asleep while he was attacked, and his nose wasn't there. He was still bleeding, which meant the attack was recent. He had 10 to 11 whacks in him from a hatchet-like weapon. The maid heard from her quarters in the attic from Lizzie, "Come down quick, father's dead, somebody's come in and killed him." Lizzie refused the maid, Bridget Sullivan, access to the room, thinking it too painful for her to see her father dead. Bridget soon came with a neighbour. They didn't know where the stepmother was, Abby Durfee Gray. The last they heard of her was a maid saying that she went out with friends. Lizzie said, "Oh, Maggie," a nickname for Bridget. "I'm almost sure I heard her come in. Check upstairs to see if she is there." The neighbour and Bridget soon moved upstairs and saw Lizzie's stepmother dead. Abby Durfee Gray had 18 to 19 strokes with the hatchet and was face down in the room. It is believed to be the hatchet that was the same one that killed Lizzie's pigeons a few months prior. There was nothing stolen, nor was there any sign of a break-in. The timing of the murders is very peculiar. According to forensic science teams, Abby was murdered around 9 o'clock and Andrew was murdered around 11 o'clock, since Abby's blood was dry and Andrew's was fresh and wet. The maid stated that Lizzie was wearing, quote, "an unstained blue dress," end quote. Lizzie was tried for the murder but acquitted of all charges. The strange thing is that in such a small 3-story house, nothing was heard by anyone until 11:10. Now this is the part where I delve into the depths of theories as to who did it. The primary suspect is Lizzie Borden. She claimed that she was in the barn looking for lead sinkers. After the murder, there was a large sum of money given to her, approximately $10 billion in modern times. Her answers at the trial contradicted each other, such as the fact that she put on her father's slippers before his nap, but according to crime scene photos, he was wearing boots. A friend of Lizzie's, Alice, saw her burning a red dress, saying that, quote, "there was paint on it," end quote. This was not the same dress that Bridget described. A local pharmacist claimed she was trying to buy a poison called prussic acid, aka potassium cyanide, the day before the murders. This was dismissed in the trial due to the fact that there was just some bad food in them on the autopsy report and nothing more. During the trial, the victims' skulls were admitted as evidence, and Lizzie fainted when she saw them. After a year of planning and prepping for the trial, the police only circumstantial evidence that couldn't convict her. 90 minutes and she was off scot-free. This theory is so popular that there is a rhyme to go with the murders. Quote, "Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks, and when she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. It is to the tune of the then popular song "Ta-ra-ra Bum Da." It resembles many old nursery rhymes, such as "Ringa Ringa Roses," based upon the Black Death, and "London Bridges Falling Down," based on a Viking attack on London. Our next suspect is maid Bridget Sullivan. Abby was very strict and sometimes described as mean to the maid. She was cleaning the outside of the house and went to bed when she was awoken by Lizzie's screams. Where she was sleeping was above where Abby was murdered, as proved by Ryan Bergara and Shane Madej from BuzzFeed Unsolved. Would recommend, by the way. You'll be able to hear a thud from a floor below.
It's pretty light, but I could hear it.
This checks out, because it's BuzzFeed and needs to check these sorts of things, since she was only half asleep. Another suspect is the uncle of Lizzie, John Vinicum Morse. This theory was thought of by maths teacher Richard Little, who wrote a book on the case called Cold Case to Case Closed, Elizabeth Borden, My Story. John was not seen from 9 o'clock until noon. His alibi is that he was down the road visiting a sick relative with the town doctor. That very same doctor was looking at the bodies at the time. Morse was sleeping in the room that Abby was found in. Also, Morse may have known about the will. We can tell from the following transcript from Lizzie. Question: did you know of your father making a will? Answer: no, sir, except I heard somebody say there once was one several years ago. That is all I ever heard. Question: who did you hear say so? Answer: I think it was Mr. Morse. Question: what Morse? Answer: Uncle John V. Morse. Little also states there was a failing livestock business run by Mr. Morse. He also said he killed the butchers with a meat cleaver rather than a hatchet, since he was a butcher. The fourth theory is two people at once, that being Lizzie and Bridget. Many a fan fiction claimed they had a romantic relationship and Abby discovered it. The backup for this theory is that Lizzie confessed she had a crush on a female actor later in life, and that's it. Our final theory is from Mr. Allen on YouTube, revealed to the public by BuzzFeed Unsolved Postmortem. It says they all co-conspired together to kill them, or would benefit as Lizzie would split the $10 million will between them all. Now it's a section where I figure out the answer. Bridget could have heard Abby being hacked to death from the floor above. That would have aroused her from her slumber. Obviously, hearing multiple beats and slashing noises, she would walk downstairs and expose Lizzie. So the first one is disqualified. The second one, just how couldn't she hear it? It could be her, but Lizzie would have heard her much earlier when she killed Abby. The third doesn't have a very valid motive. Number 4, no. However, Alan's theory doesn't make the most sense, as all would benefit in one way or another, since Lizzie could split the money all between them. But ultimately, we shall never know. This is just my personal hypothesis. I think that the answer should be up to you. Thanks for watching. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Ring the notification bell so you don't miss my next deep dive into Histories Mysteries and my investigation into the unfortunate disappearance of Amelia Earhart.